Hi, this is Pat Moorhead. Welcome back to the 6.5 Summit Day 1. Hopefully you checked out the opening keynote, but we are here to talk about the connected edge with our opening keynote, and I'm pleased as punch to welcome back Charles Furlan from Lenovo. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Good to be back, Pat.
I know, and we're back face to face. I mean, nothing wrong with virtual, but it's always great to see your smiling face.
Same here, thank you.
Yeah, so it's been a real privilege to chronicle the growth of the Lenovo Edge over the last 4 or 5 years. And I think the way that I look at it is Lenovo was leaning into the edge before it was cool, okay? And now it's very much a cool place to be. But everybody has their definitions. I mean, one person's edge is another person's edge. How does Lenovo define the edge?
That's a good point. Indeed, edge computing means different things for different people. At Lenovo, edge computing is about the compute capability that you would typically find in the data center or in the cloud that we're repackaging in a much smaller, more ruggedized form factor and deploy that outside of the data center. So it's really something that we're bringing the compute capability to the data rather than bringing the data to the compute in the cloud, basically.
Yeah, so is it safe to call it the data center's edge?
Exactly, right? So it's extending that same powerful devices at the edge, because in the past, we had edge computing in some sort, gateways or PCs, but they were very focused on specific function. Now we're really looking at compute that you would find in the cloud in a much smaller form factor.
Yeah, and in fact, I guess having experience sometimes has its pitfalls, and one is that as an analyst, you're always asking, hey, what's new about this thing, right? And when I started my career in 1990, it was in the financial systems division of a tech company, and guess what? They had equipment and PCs at the edge, but they really weren't that connected to the mothership. They weren't managed, right? And they certainly couldn't do AI or do video processing and cool stuff like that. So I love tech. I love all the cool form factors. I love the liquid cooling. I love the small form factors. I love the technology. But in the end, companies don't buy just for cool technologies, and they don't say, the board doesn't do an edict that says, hey, we need to have an edge project, right? In fact, what they're talking about is more along the lines of, hey, we need to make our factories smarter, transportation, our retail point of sale more valuable. What types of problems are your customers trying to solve with your technology?
So you've mentioned it. Typically at the edge, you would find underperforming PCs or gateways that are not able to address the workloads that are expected today. So we see two major trends in edge computing. The first one is quite clear. Our customers view the edge as an extension of their cloud environment. They want to see whatever cloud strategy they have implemented at the headquarters or in the cloud, extended all the way to the edge. So there's a consolidation of the workloads because they're realizing that I have this device to do the point of sale, I have this device to count people in the location, I have this device for archiving video. It's becoming a nightmare to manage. Each one of these devices have its own operating system, its own security aspect, and so on. So their first trend is to solve the challenge about consolidation and bring this into a series of edge devices that are resilient and can operate in that space.
Yeah, and what's the makeup? What are those solutions? What do those solutions look like? Are they boxes? Are they what are they?
So in reality, you have two options to do that consolidation, right? As I mentioned, sometimes you'll have underperforming devices that are not designed for this, and we're trying to stretch the capability of it. Or we'll bring a data center server and we'll bring this into this edge location. But that data center server has some drawback in the sense that it's not designed to operate in very dusty environment. It's loud, it takes a lot of space. And that is the challenges that they're facing. Say, how can I have that same power into a small form factor that I can deploy next to my users? So that's the first challenge, is around how do I consolidate my workloads? How do I extend the cloud into an hybrid environment on premise without having to bring a full server rack in every store, every school, every factory?
Are there any certain verticals where you're seeing, more heat and light, whether it be you're solving the bigger challenge, or they've waited the most amount of years to modernize, or maybe security got to them, and it's like we're just completely into any verticals that are pointing out for you. I mean, it's easy to kind of rattle off holistically, but from a Lenovo point of view, where's most of the heat and light right now?
First of all, we see growth across all industry, but more particularly around retail, hospitality, quick serve restaurant, a lot around augmenting the capability of the store using AI, for example. And that's actually, Pat, the second trend I wanted to highlight, or the second issue is in order to process the vast amount of data created at the edge, we need to bring this to the cloud or to the data center. And very often these sites don't have enough network connectivity, or it's too expensive to bring all of that data to the cloud. So we end up storing or not ignoring the data being created. As a matter of fact, in many cases, most of the data is not processed. By introducing Edge AI or introducing the computing capability at the edge, we're now able to process the data, get the insight, and deliver some value to our customers. So and we see that value across all industries, but more particularly, again, around retail, quick serve restaurant.
Yeah, it is. It is incredible. You look at some of the challenges out there. I mean, it's quite frankly, it's hard to get people to work, get enough people to go to work. It's tough to get them trained and motivated, get those orders correct, make sure there's a connection between the front office and the back office, security and understanding kind of what's going on. Even getting the order in has been augmented in some really impressive ways. It is truly exciting. Any other types of trends that you're seeing out there?
The first trend is around consolidation, second trend around acceleration or Edge AI, but as you rightfully pointed out, now you have these devices deployed in restaurants, in quick serve restaurant, in a high temperature environment, very greasy, to help automate the drive-through, for example.
Yeah.
Well, you need to have certain environmental around that edge service that are met, being able to operate in a very high temperature range, or sustaining a high level of shock or vibration, or very dusty environment. And believe it or not, we have a large amount of team of engineering working on the acoustic, the sound of the server. And this is something
we take for granted, and then it's a server sitting right next to people. And if you've ever been, if any of the audience has ever been into, the cold aisle or the warm aisle, you probably should have a pair of headphones.
You don't want to spend the day sitting next to this. So we design our engineering, our acoustic engineer, to be honest, are focusing on the sound of the server so that it's no louder than the conversation that you and I are having right now.
No, that's important, just if nothing else, for satisfaction and the safety of the folks who work there. And you can see it from the drive-through. If you walk in, you can look at the window and you see something that, it could be connectivity, it could be compute, but there are flashing lights on it, and a lot of things plugged into it. And my mind goes directly to server, but it truly is somewhat of a hodgepodge of equipment in there. If you've had it in there for, some of it could be decades old.
So indeed, one of our customers in the U.S. is actually deploy our technology to automate their drive-through and help reduce the staff to man the drive-through, but more important, ensure quality in the order from our customers, so that they are meaning that they're not haven't forgotten an item, for example.
Yeah. So, given that it's a heterogeneous environment, given that it's likely not a new, let's say, retail store that you're going into, sometimes it could be, but more often than not, it's being retrofitted. It seems like a very hard, difficult process to get started. How are you streamlining this for your customers today?
So that's a good question, because you can start everywhere, and that scares a lot of customers. So the first thing we did at Lenovo is create the AI Innovation Centers. So these are 4 centers all over the world, and staffed with some of the brightest data scientists that looks at hundreds or thousands of independent AI software vendors. And from that pool, rationalize that to a few hundreds, to a few dozen per industry. So when we have our customers coming and visiting a Lenovo AI Innovation Center, we are sharing with them some of the art of the possible. Here is how you could automate your drive-through. Here is how you could help your employee safety in a warehouse and these sort of things. So now we're giving options. Of course, if the customers have their preference, fine with us. However, it does help accelerate the discussion and the journey to the AI with our customers. The second thing is giving them options, right? We have very diverse, when we're talking about AI more specifically, we do have a diverse of GPU option. These GPU are actually cards that are accelerating the AI adoption. And we support Intel, NVIDIA, Qualcomm, so giving them different options to different customers. And finally, we have a tool that is called Lenovo Open Cloud Automation that really transforms the journey to the edge in the sense that it always works in the lab. It always works with the 10 pilot sites, but now you deploy this in hundreds or thousands of sites around the country, around the world, and it's a nightmare. It takes way longer than expected. And that's why we designed Lenovo Open Cloud Automation to have a very simple application on a laptop, a tablet, a phone that you securely activate the device at the edge site. And within a few minutes, we centrally deploy the personality, say, do the hardware parameter, we do the operating system installation, all the way to the network and cloud configuration so that the system is ready to host application within a few minutes, a few hours. That really helps our customers to the journey to the cloud, to a scalable cloud infrastructure or edge infrastructure.
Yeah, I mean, many times you're not going to have a single IT person in there, maybe a shift manager or something like that. Is it safe to call that zero touch provision?
We call it near zero touch because somehow you must do an intervention at some point.
Right.
But if you're able to have an application on your phone, you're able to activate a Lenovo Think Edge server.
So as part of this consultative process that you talked about, bringing them in and having this conversation, is some of the output, it would seem hard to understand, first of all, how big do I make my endpoints, right? How much horsepower do I need, right? Because I'm thinking about not only what I have to get done today, but maybe something I might want to do in the future. And then what do I do at the edge? And then what do I do in the data center or in the cloud data center? Is that part of this process?
It is part of the process. And by the way, it's not either or, right? The edge is not going to replace the cloud. It's really going to augment the capability that we're able to extract and the value we're able to extract at the edge. And I'll give you an example by being able to process certain events. If you're looking at a computer vision use case, for example, you'll have existing cameras in the store monitoring a self-checkout, and all of this data is typically archived into a video management system. Introducing Edge AI on the store, for example, will allow to train the system to recognize if somebody forgets to scan an object. And it's only that video clip that get exported or that incident that get extracted to the cloud, right?
No, I love that. So let's talk about innovation, kind of get into the little bit more to the nuts and the bolts here. How are you looking at innovation, and what have you, we've been talking about this for years, so I know that's a blanket statement, so I'll call it recently, but what are you bringing out, what innovations to help customers with the edge?
So we looked at, we listen, more important, to our customers, and there's a no compromise in the design approach that we've taken to say there's two key trends. One is around the workload consolidation or hybrid cloud or cloud extension with hyper-converge on-premise, and the other one is Edge AI.
Yeah.
Right. And really, actually, Pat, we thank you for bringing the point because we are innovating today with you and the audience, and your audience here is the first time that we'll introduce the new Think Edge SC350 V2 and the new Think Edge SC360 V2. The 350 V2 is actually a storage optimized device that is really designed to hyper-converge environment, hybrid cloud extension on-premise.
Did it be a lot of video on this? Is that what you would put on that? Because it's a storage unit?
This is a storage unit, indeed. And then on the SC360 V2, this is really an AI optimized device. So in that context, we focused on Edge AI use cases and bringing the Edge AI to some of the most harsh environment out there. We can have this server operating at minus 20 degrees Celsius, for example.
Right.
So it's really a highly ruggedized AI server that is optimized to process AI use cases at the edge.
Could you just give a flavor of the AI use cases? I mean, listen, I can't have a conversation in the past 3 months without there being a little flavor of AI. So I think this would definitely pique the audience interest. So what is AI on the edge? What does that look like?
It depends on the industry. We have some customers that are pig farms, for example, that are using edge servers way out there at the farm that is looking at computer vision to uniquely identify the animals and monitoring their behavior. And if one of the animals, for example, is sick, is not eating, not drinking, we'll identify that to the farmer, for example, and avoid giving antibiotics to the entire farm animals.
It's fascinating. It really is.
I can go on and on. We have the team of your event is actually the Rough Waters, right? And it got me thinking about one of our customers in Mexico, Grupo Pinza, who are actually a commercial fishing company that goes out at sea and is fishing, obviously fishing. So we have our Think Edge portfolio on these boats with Edge AI and cameras that are able to estimate the catch, track the volume of fish they didn't catch, notify the fishermen if there is certain animal or certain fish that shouldn't be caught because they're too small or illegal, and notify the factory, the distribution, so that they can plan ahead of the boat coming back to port to have enough capacity to handle all the fish. I can tell you, our engineers here in Raleigh would not have thought about these use cases, but the truth is our portfolio, our Think Edge systems are actually deployed in very harsh environment that deliver that sort of value.
I love these customer edge examples, and our audience does too. Can you share a few more with us?
Absolutely. Well, again, on the term of rough waters, we did a project with an island 700 kilometers off the coast of Chile called Robinson Crusoe, and we helped an organization over there use Edge AI by introducing some of our Think Edge server on the island to restore biodiversity on the island, actually. Or perhaps even car wash. A car wash, if you go into it with your car,
right.
Again, you might be looking at the brushes. I'm looking at the technology behind. We work with a company called Sony Enterprise. They are the world leader in systems and supply for car washes. Well, they use our Think Edge portfolio in those car wash tunnels to ensure the employee safety, ensure the vehicle is not bumping into anything, and processing video from the cameras in real time. I mean, there's a lot of customers that are giving us a great feedback. And finally, maybe one more that I can talk in Dubai, which called Enoch. They have and operate gas stations all over the Emirates. And as you can imagine, the temperature and the dust is predominant in
right.
Dubai. So we have our edge servers consolidating workloads, the pump application, in-store music, and the point of sale into an hybrid cloud infrastructure that is hosted in the janitor closet. So next to the brooms and the brushes, very hot, very dusty, is where we are running the state-of-the-art hybrid cloud environment.
Yeah, I love these examples. Technology exactly where you wouldn't expect them, but then again, maybe we would expect them there. You know, it's funny, every time I hear about these AI use cases on the edge, I'm immediately fascinated, and then it's more like, well, of course. Oh, well, of course. Well, of course. And a lot of it's doing is augmenting our own eyeballs or our own, clicking and counting, but doing it in there with machine provision, and whether it's, increasing the likelihood of a secure food chain, supply chain, whether it's making sure that food gets on the table, for lack of a better term, over medicating, your animals that are out there. I'm just amazed with all of this, and it's funny. I can't even imagine. I mean, there's going to be a day, I think, that's close where lowest satisfaction scores is in a retail fast food, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of it has to do with the order, right? Getting the order in and having it come out with what you asked for. By the way, I'm convinced that today so many people use apps like DoorDash because there's a high likelihood that the order is going to be right. But I'm wondering if there's going to be a day, right, where there's always going to be a human in the loop for some special stuff, but
Absolutely.
Kind of a restaurant or retail of the future that's making people and quite frankly employees happy.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I'm also amazed because the creativity of some of the AI software vendor out there is incredible, right? But I think we have unlocked one of the key factor is that before, all of that data, all of the video input, all of the sensors had to be brought to the cloud.
Yes.
And that was too expensive, and that didn't scale. By bringing that AI capability into a form factor, the SC360, for example, is 80% smaller than any other edge server out there.
Yes, I want to go, let's drill down on what makes these two unique from its predecessor, because from a form factor, these look a little bit familiar. Maybe I've seen this form factor before.
It's not much bigger than a piece of paper. This is
right.
the ThinkEdge SC360. As I just said, it's 80% smaller in form factor than a comparable edge server.
Okay.
Holds twice the highest density of GPU you can put in the smallest footprint. And as I said, is half the noise level that you will find on competitive products. So this is really designed purposely to operate at the very far edge with AI in mind.
And when you say the far edge, is that, let's say, in contrast to not having raised floor tile and heavy-duty air conditioning?
This is a school, a hospital, a store, a warehouse, a restaurant, a hotel that has cameras most of the time and is looking for a way to drill down the information from this video input and extract information. How many people are walking in the restaurant? How many people, how long are they spending in the fruit product section, for example. So it's extracting insight from the video already in place.
That's cool. And let's go back to 350. Tell us what's new about this.
Storage optimized, again, 65% smaller than a comparable hybrid cloud server. We designed this to host different type of storage capacity. So from very cost-effective storage disk to performance disk or self-encrypted security disk, and we actually hold twice as much storage than competitive edge servers out there. So again, we really didn't compromise on having the best hybrid cloud hyperconverged infrastructure server and the best AI edge server on the market.
Is there a chance we would see both of these in the same environment together?
So as a matter of fact, the SC350 version 1, the existing product, is a very popular demand. It's one of our most popular product, and for all our customers out there, we decided to extend the life for another 2 years. Yeah. So that server has a mix and match, a little bit of AI, a little bit of storage, and offer that value proposition to our customers.
So I appreciate you bringing up the theme of the show. And by the way, I loved the example that you used of fishermen, right? Yeah, it was so cool. But I'm curious, how does security kind of build and even, let's say, reliability help to navigate those rough waters at this point? I mean, because the world is different now than it was 18 months ago with fireworks going off and, zero interest rates and economies going through the roof.
Inflation is bad. Yeah, indeed. Security, we cannot compromise on security. And this is one of the concerns that our customers told us, and loud and clear. While there might be an incident where a device will be stolen, it cannot be a data breach, a security data breach, right? So we designed these systems, for example, to have tamper detection. So if somebody opens up the cupboard, the data will automatically locked up. We put motion detectors, so if that device is moved out of its original location, again, the data will be locked up.
Right.
So there's certain technique that we have, innovation that we have put in the device, that now that you left the secure perimeter of the data center, the device will protect the data, and the device itself, we have lockable bezel, so nobody can plug their phone to the USB port, for example. Right. Now that it breaks the server, we just don't want customer users to touch them while they're in production.
No, I love that. And by the way, that to me, that's something that people wouldn't normally think about. People probably look at these and say, oh, it's a PC. Yeah. It's a tiny PC, right? But it's very much different. It's ruggedized, made for a fire and forget type of environment.
Exactly.
What did you call it? Low touch, Near zero touch?
Near zero touch, yes.
Yeah, no, that's good. So Charles, I don't even know where the time goes, but we're at time here. But I want to ask you one final question about partners and about how you look at your partners, because hardware alone doesn't create the solution. Having a village come in and work together does. Can you tell me a little bit about your viewpoint, kind of how you view partners in this fascinating world of the edge?
First of all, when we come to the hybrid cloud or hyperconverged type of infrastructure, we partner with the best out there. VMware, Microsoft, you name it, we support these infrastructure on our edge servers. When it comes to the AI, I think the AI Innovation Center are really making a key difference. And this is where these ISVs have so much creativity.
So much.
That it's really interesting for our customers to say, well, hold on, I have a factory as well. I want to have computer vision in order to ensure quality of the product.
Right.
This is a great idea. All you have to do is deploy an edge server. Most of the time, they already have a lot of this infrastructure, video input and cameras already in place. This is really just taking advantage of the existing infrastructure and extracting the value. So you're right, it takes a village and an ecosystem, and we're happy to partner, and we are partnering with all the key vendors out there.
Yeah, it is amazing. I'll walk into a branch of this and a branch of that and be like, oh yeah, I recognize that.
Absolutely.
I recognize that black mini server behind the counter or literally on the wall, right? I don't see the ones that are, nailed or screwed into the elevator shafts, but I know there are many of them.
I have the same feeling when I go to a restaurant or store. I'm looking at the back.
You're
and
like, oh my gosh, my kid,
I'm not looking
my
at
baby.
the kitchen. I'm looking at the server. Indeed.
I love that. Charles, thanks so much for the time. Thanks so much for kicking off the Connected Intelligent Edge part of this year's summit.
Thank you, Patrick. Happy to be here.
Thanks. So this is Pat Moorhead closing out this Connected Intelligent Edge section of day one. I want to thank everybody for tuning in, and keep watching for the rest of the Connected Intelligent Edge and all the action in day one and day two and day three. It's there whenever you want, as long as you've signed up. I want to thank you all for tuning in. Have a good day.